When you focus only on income, you're always chasing the next check. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of chasing. Welcome back to the Human and Well podcast. My name is Amber Cabral, and thanks for joining me for today's episode. So today's episode, we are going to focus on the wealth pillar of Human and Well. And what I specifically want to talk about is the difference between value and income. This episode will be a little bit probably about discipline as well, because I think being able to operate with a value versus income mindset does require some discipline, but discipline probably needs to be an episode into itself or onto itself. And so I will do that separately. But I really want to talk about this. I am currently in a season where I am working on a lot of things. Some are very fun and yummy, but most of my work days are very full. Most of what I'm working on is not currently putting income in my pocket. It is not paying me. I am currently running my business on a really tight budget, which means that I am paying my team, and my support, but not necessarily myself. Occasionally I get a little money. The work I am doing though has value. So as an example, I'm rebuilding my website because, that needs to be revamped for the new company. I am staying on top of this podcast. I am working on a book, really a couple books secretly. I am about to launch these hoodies. The Be a Good Human hoodie is coming out. And so I'm finalizing samples. This was a sample I picked up today and trying to make sure that all of it, that is set up for pre-order. I am working on trying to get on more podcasts and shows so that I can gain a bit of traction with visibility. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but none of this work is generating any income. In fact, a lot of it is costing me money. Samples cost money as an example, right? But I think a lesson that a lot of folks take a long time to learn is the difference between value and income. When I say something has value, it means I know that while I cannot point to how it is generating direct income for me in the present moment, I am certain that it is adding the kind of value that will contribute to my income for the long haul. When I engage a new potential corporate client or a coaching client, they're going to go look me up and they're going to look for value. That's how it goes. And they'll get to see value because I've done things that showcase that value. Oh, she's an author. Let me go check out the reviews for her books. Oh, she has a podcast. Let me go listen to see if I can get a feel for her approach. There's a lot out there that adds value, and it's new and it's fresh and it's relevant. I know this is a woman who's navigated change. Even my appearance will tell you that, right? Because lots of pictures of me with like this funky haircut and now there's no hair. So there are things that you can glean that will message for you what kind of person you are and what kind of value you are offering when you are intentional about showcasing that. Let me go check out her website so I can learn more about her and her background, right? So I am investing in ways to show my value, and I know that that will ultimately increase my income. Investing in ways to show my value can open doors when I'm not even in the room, right? Because someone tells someone else and then that person goes and looks it up. I'm not even there, but the value that is available will speak for itself. Investing in my value, while time consuming and sometimes expensive, can also end up directly generating income for me. So like I now earn royalties from the sales of my first two books. I didn't initially, but now that they have been selling for some time, I am earning income from those. I am hoping that this Human and Well podcast will eventually get big enough so that I can monetize it, so that it will at least, begin to pay for itself, if not generate some income. So I made a values decision when I was choosing to do these things. I made a values decision just the other day, as an example, to hop on a local radio show this week here in Georgia. And I had never been on it. I had never met the host. And it turns out that the host ended up knowing someone who knew me. His wife knew someone who knew me. So while the show hasn't even aired yet, already there's conversation being generated that is putting me in front of folks in the top of people's minds that I otherwise would not have been there. Now, I'm not saying that there are not times when you should specifically be focused on your income, because that's important, right? But sometimes I will say yes to things or participate in things because I see the potential value And value often generates income for a longer term. And here's the thing, I am still working for income as I am doing the value thing. So I have to be smart about my time right now because I'm making values investments while also earning cash flow for the business. So my time management, which we covered a few episodes back, is super critical, right? Because I am also having to build content for clients and making sure that I'm showing up ready to present. And, I have a couple sessions I've got to facilitate this week. That stuff is bringing in immediate income and I need to do that. But I also got to make these values investments so that folks, when they're checking me out, get to see what they want to see to guarantee that I am at the forefront of an opportunity when it comes available. I actually have a really dear friend that I feel like I have this values conversation with all the time, because I just feel like he is so focused on income and he isn't always thinking about value. So I think he is working way harder than he has to. And when I see him or talk to him, I see his value so much. I'm like, yo, you are so great at this. If you would just channel that energy in this particular way, it could really be working for you. I end up spending time trying to encourage him to think about how he can set himself up to work less in the long run because he's put himself in the position to showcase his value. This is a tough mindset to shift though. It's difficult, especially when you come from a background like my background where money isn't always easy. I've had to work really hard to earn money. My parents were not very well off, so it's very hard sometimes to understand value when income is a very present matter. So let's cover a few ways that I've used, that I'm going to share, that I've seen others use, that I encourage people to use, that can maybe shift your mindset to start making some values decisions instead of only making income decisions. All right, so let's walk through some of those. First things first, you got to think long-term return on investment and not just short-term cash flow. Sometimes the things that are not paying you today are setting you up for bigger opportunities tomorrow. So I am writing 2 books right now. They are not paying me today. Okay. I am building this podcast. It is not paying me today. I have said yes to panels that were going to put me in front of people that I know would be ideal clients that did not necessarily pay, right? They did not cover the bills in the moment, but they built my credibility and built my visibility. So a couple questions that you can consider. Will this build credibility, visibility, or skill that pays off later? Let me be very clear about visibility. All visibility ain't good visibility, right? Sometimes people will try to pay you in visibility. That's not always what you want. So ask yourself, is it going to pay off later? Will this credibility, visibility, or skill pay off later? Okay. If I say yes to this now, will I be glad in a year that I was like, ooh, so glad I said yes to that? Look at the opportunities that it's produced. Okay. The second thing I want you to think about is that you want to build assets and not just transactions. Income is often just like a one-time exchange. I do some work hours, you pay me for showing up, right? I facilitate a class, you pay me for that. I build some content, you pay me for that. Value comes when you create things that live beyond the present moment. So my books would be an example of that. I am still collecting money now off books. I have not written a book in 2 years, but I still am earning from the books that have already been written. My website that showcases my expertise, a digital product that I may create and offer for sale as an example, a strong piece of thought leadership content that helps people see what I know that's different than what other people know. These kinds of things literally keep working for you even when you're not in the room. So a couple questions you can think about around that is, am I building something that I can leverage more than one time? Is this something that can keep being tapped on over and over and over and over? And what can I create today that would keep working for me even when I'm not actually working? Okay, so those are the 2 questions to help kind of prompt you in that. And be careful here because there is a lot of trash on the internet that people are charging big dollars for. So if you're going to share a digital product, especially make it high quality because whatever you're charging for it, or even if you make it free, because I give a lot of things away for free or really cheap because I want the thought leadership out there because I want people to associate that thought leadership with me. If you make it high quality, that establishes your reputation and people will keep coming back for more. So they're going to go, oh, this is what you gave away for free. The paid things are probably really worth it. And it puts you at a certain level because there's a certain level of folks that you're like, hey, whatever that is that you need, I can give that to you. I want the person who wants the next level because that I'm going to charge for. Okay. Third thing I want you to think about is how are you investing in relationships and not just revenue, income pays the bills relationships, right? But value rich relationships that open doors. Okay. A lunch with a mentor, a thoughtful follow-up email to someone that's a past client that you just thought of, or an idea that you have that you think could help a colleague that you can just share with no issue, showing up to support, someone's event. These things are not necessarily going to pay you immediately, but like really intentional connections often turn into referrals, opportunities, collaborations, things that you really honestly could not have predicted, because you'll be at the top of someone's mind and people will think highly of you. They will think of you as a person who adds value. So my relationships in this season, for example, where things have been, we're building. Cabral Co. is gone. Humaning Well Co. is here. We have to build over again a lot of things that were working really well. My relationships in this season have saved me, okay? Helped me in ways I cannot even begin to articulate. Saving me money, saving me time. And I really needed that right now. So ask yourself right now, while you have it, while you have the bandwidth, while you don't need anything, who are you connecting with this week that isn't tied to a paycheck? And in a way that isn't tied to a paycheck. You want to connect with people that aren't tied to a paycheck and do it in a way that doesn't feel like that exchange is tied to a paycheck. And how can you intentionally nurture relationships that reflect mutual value, mutual connection, and not just transaction? Okay, those are your two questions I want you to think about for this one. And then that leads me to number 4, which is you have to document and showcase your value. You may already be doing great work. You might be doing phenomenal work, but if no one sees it, if no one knows about it, if no one's talking about it, it will not ultimately translate into income, and you're not getting the value of your work. So this is simple stuff. Update your LinkedIn, capture client testimonials, share snippets of your process online. Make sure the value you're creating is visible so that when someone searches for you, they can see the proof of what you're bringing. Because ultimately, that's who's going to get the gig. That's who's going to get the opportunity. That's who's going to get invited to the next role. That's the person that's going to get invited to present. The person who I can go out and point to and say, look at her, look at them, look at him. This is what they're doing. And I have evidence of that. Right? Because we know sometimes the people we're talking to aren't the ones with the budget. It's the people they're talking to, and they've got to be able to present you well. So the questions you want to consider for this one: am I capturing and sharing the value that I'm creating? Am I capturing and sharing the value I'm creating? We all have these handy dandy hand computers. We can record ourselves. We can get a little tripod, set it up. There's a way to capture the value. Okay. Also, second thing, if someone new looked you up online today, would they understand what you're bringing to the table? Someone who has never heard of you, right? Gets your name, types it in the search bar. What are they going to find? And are they going to understand what you do? Depending on your goals, you may want to choose maybe 1 or 2 of these 4 things that I just went over with you. Some of you may be like, I don't really necessarily need to have an online presence for what I do, right? But you do really need relationships. So think about, as I ask you with any episode, consider what is the most valuable for you to consider. And then the rest you can just kind of put aside. Share with someone else that maybe needs it. Share the episode, please, with someone else that maybe needs it. Folks who are going through job changes and layoffs and things like that. This is a good episode for folks to listen to. And I just want to remind you, value and income are not the same thing, but they do work together. Okay. Income keeps the lights on today, right? And we need that. I am in a season where I'm trying to do 50% of my time on what's bringing in the income and 50% of my time on what's adding value. This, okay, is going to ideally bring in a little small amount of income, but the idea is that it's going to add value. I'm associated with this, right? Humaning well, be a good human. So this, for those who can't, I forget this is a audio and a visual podcast. I'm holding up, I have on the sample of the Be a Good Human hoodie that I'm going to release. And so I'm trying it out. This is the last test run. I'm pretty sure the link will be going up soon. And I'm showing the camera, like, this is an investment. I may not make money off of it necessarily, but it is value that is going to contribute to the future I want to step into tomorrow. So when you focus only on income, you're always chasing the next check. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of chasing. I don't like chasing. Okay. And so if you commit to building the value, you create credibility. That works when you're not working. You create opportunities that come to you without you having to do a whole lot. You have proof of your excellence, and that continues to work for you long after the hoodie is sold, the website's been completed, the podcast episode has gone up. All of those things can continue to work for you even once you're done doing the labor of them. And it could be something else. I'm just giving you the examples that are in my life, right? So as you move through this week, take a look at your choices. Remember, one shift in how you spend your energy, one step toward value can compound the income and freedom that you want later. The life you want is not built only on what's paying you right now, okay? It's built on the value that you've chosen to invest in all along the way. All right. So thanks for tuning in for the Humaning Well podcast. And please share this episode. Please go out, like, share, comment, all the podcast things. It matters so much to the show. And I will see you next week.